Imagine waking up one morning, you look outside, and everything is just dripping, covered in rain that is literally the color of blood.
Yeah.
I mean, not just pinkish, but this deep, shocking scarlet red. Your clothes, the streets, everything.
It's an apocalyptic image, really. And for the people in Kerala, India, starting in the summer of 2001, this was their reality for months.
And that's what we're diving into today, the phenomenon known as the Kerala red rain.
Right. It started as this, this weird local weather event.
Yeah.
But the science that followed,
Huh?
it turned it into one of the biggest modern mysteries about the origins of life.
Okay, so that's our mission here. We're going to unpack the sources, the lab reports, the atmospheric data, all of it, to figure out what was really going on.
And more importantly, how scientists went from looking at raindrops to seriously discussing, well, comets and life from outer space.
It's a huge leap.
A massive leap. It's a perfect deep dive, really. You start with something you can see and touch on the ground, and you end up questioning the very definition of biology.
So let's start there, on the ground. This wasn't just like one quick storm, was it?
Not at all. That's the first key point. This started in July of 2001, and the red rain fell on and off over huge parts of the state of Kerala.
For how long?
For about 2 months. It wasn't constant, but it was repeated. You'd get these localized downpours, intense and blood red, that would stain everything.
And that repetition is important, right? It means whatever was causing it, there was a lot of it up there.
A huge, consistent source. So naturally, everyone's first question is, what is this stuff?
Right. What's the common sense explanation when you see red rain?
Well, the immediate go-to, the one that meteorologists first proposed, was dust. Red sand or sediment blown in from somewhere else.
Like from the Arabian Peninsula or a desert region.
Exactly. High-altitude winds pick up a bunch of red dust, carry it over India, and then the rain just washes it all down. It's a neat and tidy explanation.
It makes perfect sense. But obviously that's not what happened, or we wouldn't be doing this deep dive.
Not even close. The moment they got this rainwater under a microscope, that dust theory it completely fell apart.
What did they see?
It wasn't inorganic sand or dust.
Yeah.
The water was packed, and I mean packed, with these strange microscopic particles, and they were clearly organic.
Organic, so like algae or fungal spores?
That was the next logical step. But the problem was, these particles, they didn't really look like any known algae or fungus spores from the region.
What did they look like?
They were these tiny spheres, very uniform in size, between 4 and 10 micrometers, with these really thick cell walls. And the numbers were just insane.
How many are we talking about?
Some samples had an estimated 9 million of these cells per single liter of rainwater.
Wait, 9 million?
9 million per liter. The sheer concentration was like nothing anyone had seen from an atmospheric event.
Okay, that volume alone is mind-blowing. But that's not even the craziest part of the story, is it?
No, that's not the detail that makes this a fundamental mystery.
This is where it really gets weird.
This is where it gets weird. The scientific team looking at this, a team led by Godfrey Louis and Santosh Kumar, they ran the standard tests to identify what kind of life it was.
So they're looking for the genetic material.
Exactly. They use these special stains that light up when they bind to DNA or RNA.
Yeah.
The blueprints of life.
Yeah.
And they found nothing.
Nothing. Like zero.
Essentially nothing. The tests came back negative. These cells, these millions and millions of complex structured cells, appeared to have no DNA.
That's a staggering statement. I mean, our entire model of life on Earth, from a bacterium to a person, it all runs on DNA.
It's the central dogma of biology.
Yep.
You have a genetic code, you replicate,
right.
Period.
So how can you have a cell, a biological structure, without it?
You can't,
Yeah.
or at least we didn't think you could. This is the finding that just broke the problem wide open. It forced everyone to consider two really radical possibilities. One, this is some totally new kind of Earth-based life that uses a genetic system we don't recognize. Maybe something so ancient it predates DNA.
Okay, that's already a huge claim. What's the other possibility?
That they're not from Earth at all.
Wow. Okay, but let's pause on that for a second before we jump to space. What else could these cells do? I mean, were they just inert little balls?
That's a great question. And this is where the research, which I should say was very controversial, gets even stranger. Louis' team reported that these cells were unbelievably durable.
Durable how?
Heat resistant. They reported that the cells could survive temperatures up to 313 degrees Celsius.
That's almost 600 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. I mean, that kind of heat would instantly vaporize any known terrestrial microbe. Their proteins, their structures, they'd just be obliterated.
So they're tough, they're everywhere, and they don't seem to have DNA. Did they try to grow them? Like in a petri dish?
They did, and that failed too, under normal conditions. They wouldn't replicate in standard biological media. Yeah. A normal fungus or algae would have bloomed immediately.
So, it doesn't act like anything we know from Earth.
It resists heat like nothing on Earth. It doesn't grow like anything on Earth, and it appears to lack the one thing that defines all life on Earth.
You can see why they started looking elsewhere.
Exactly. This is what led them directly to what's called the panspermia hypothesis.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't heard of it, give us the quick rundown on panspermia. It sounds like something from science fiction, but it's a serious theory.
It is. It's been around for over a century. The basic idea of panspermia is that life isn't unique to Earth. It suggests that life, or at least the building blocks of life, like microbial spores, can travel across the cosmos.
How?
On comets or asteroids or meteoroids, these things act like cosmic seeds, getting ejected from one planetary system and eventually landing in another.
So the idea is that a comet, or maybe a piece of one, entered Earth's atmosphere over India.
That's the hypothesis. Not a big impact, but maybe a small, fragile comet fragment or meteor that broke up high in the atmosphere.
And it released a massive cloud of these dormant spores.
A huge cloud. And that would explain the sheer number of cells they found. You'd need an absolute massive source to dump that much material into the air all at once.
And that would also explain the rain itself, wouldn't it?
Precisely. This is the elegant part of the theory. These high-altitude spores would then serve as what are called condensation nuclei.
Which means water vapor clumps onto them to form raindrops.
Yes. So the spores themselves would have triggered the downpour, which also explains why the rain was so intensely red and so localized. The material causing the color was the same material causing the rain.
That actually ties it all together pretty neatly. But it's a huge claim. There must have been serious pushback from other scientists.
Oh, absolutely. The theory was, and still is, extremely controversial.
What were the main criticisms?
Well, the biggest one was skepticism about the DNA tests. Many scientists argue that, maybe the lab methods just weren't right for this type of cell.
Except the DNA was there, but they just couldn't find it.
Right. Maybe it has a super tough cell wall they couldn't break through, or it's structured in a way that our chemical stains just don't work on it. It's very, very hard to prove a negative, to prove something isn't there.
That's a fair point. What else?
The other big question was about surviving space. Even if these things are superheat resistant, could they really survive potentially millions of years in the harsh vacuum and radiation of deep space on a comet?
It's an extraordinary claim, so it needs extraordinary evidence.
And for many, the evidence just wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
So you had this split in the scientific community. One camp saying this is a profound new form of terrestrial life we need to study, and the other saying this could be the first real proof of panspermia.
And the mystery didn't stop with just red, did it?
No, and this is another weird layer to the whole event. The sources confirmed that during that same 2-month period, there were reports of other colors too.
What other colors?
In some areas, they had bright yellow rain. In others, even black rain was reported and sampled.
And was that the same DNA-less stuff?
No, the analysis showed those rains were filled with other things, likely different types of known fungal or algae spores. The point is, you had this period of 2 months where the sky was just dumping massive, localized concentrations of organic material.
It's the sheer scale of it all, and you'd expect to find some kind of obvious trigger.
So you would. You'd look for a huge volcanic eruption or a massive dust storm, an industrial accident.
Yeah.
Something. And there was nothing. The atmospheric conditions were normal. There was no known geological or meteorological event that could explain why the skies over Kerala suddenly started raining life in multiple colors for 2 months straight.
So where does that leave us today in 2025? Has anyone solved it?
That's the most fascinating part. The consensus is, well, there is no consensus. The mystery is still very much alive.
Why? Haven't other labs been able to study the samples?
They have, but the results have been inconclusive or hard to replicate. You have to remember, the original samples are over 2 decades old now. Some later studies have claimed to find traces of DNA, but others haven't. The initial, really radical findings haven't been widely and definitively confirmed to the level that would satisfy the whole scientific community.
So we're stuck. We have this incredibly well-documented strange event.
A documented anomaly, yes. But it hasn't been conclusively proven to be extraterrestrial, and it hasn't been properly classified as anything terrestrial either. It's sort of stuck in this scientific limbo.
Which leaves us with that final, huge question from the source material. What are these things? Are they some incredibly weird, unclassified form of life from Earth that evolved without DNA as we know it?
Or are they actually from somewhere else? A real sample of life from beyond Earth delivered by a comet that we just don't have the technology or, the smoking gun to prove it yet.
It's an incredible story, so let's recap the key takeaways for you.
We started with the Kerala red rain event in 2001. The initial idea that it was just desert dust was completely overturned by the discovery of millions of microscopic biological cells in the water.
And the absolute bombshell was the finding that these cells appeared to have no DNA. They were also incredibly resistant to heat, which made a terrestrial origin seem, well, unlikely.
Right, and that led directly to the panspermia theory, the idea that spores from a comet fragment broke up in the atmosphere, seeding the clouds and triggering the red rain.
We also talked about the context. This wasn't just red rain, there was yellow and black rain too, and it all happened without any obvious environmental cause. The mystery is very much unsolved today.
Which leaves you with a final thought to mull over. If a phenomenon like this can happen, involving biological material that seems to defy the fundamental rules of life as we know it, what does that tell you about the mysteries that are still out there? It makes you wonder, how many other secrets are hiding just above the clouds, just waiting to rain down and force us to rethink everything?